Shri Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the question of the sage is that why should we read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Purāṇa? It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, verse 2. Dharmam prajoktavhyatra paramam nirmatra ranam sattam vedam भैस्तभम अस्त्रवस्तु शिवदम तप तत्र मूलैनम श्रीमद् भगवते महामुनिकर्ते किंभस पर ईश्वर सद्य हृदये अभक्त्रास्ये तत्र कृत्रिभि शुश्रूष्य तत्कर्ष्यत्नः. It means why should we we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. It is completely rejecting all religious activity which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purāṇa pronounced the highest truth which is understood by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from the illusion, from the welfare of all. Such truth uproot the threefold misery. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyāsadeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentive and submissively hear the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So, whatever the thing it is mentioned here, the same thing is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Here, there, Lord Shri Krishna explained to Arjuna that we should reject all the religious activity which is materially motivated. The real religious is to be the self-realization, to get the self-realization. So, here the purport is religious include four primary subjects, namely pious activity, economic development, satisfaction of sense, and finally liberation from material bondage. So irreligious life is a barbarous condition. Indeed, human life begins when religion begins. And the most important thing is why we should be religious. The very good example is quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam. Eating, sleeping, purring and mating are the four principles of animal life. These are commonly both of animal and human beings, but religious is the extra function of a human being. Without religion, human life is better than animal life. Therefore, in human society there is some form of religious which aim at self-realization and which make reference to man's eternal relations with God. So in a lower stage of human civilization there is always competition to lord it over the material nature, and in other words there are a continuous rivalry to satisfy the sense. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. He thus perform pious activity or religious function in order to gain some material or some wealth. But if such material gains are obtainable in other way, then so-called religion is neglected. This is the situation of a modern civilization. So here it means in the modern civilization all the religious activities are done because of getting something. So man is thinking economically, so at present he is not very interested in religion. Temple are now particularly vacant. men are more interested in factory shop and cinemas than religious place which are erected by their forefather. This particular proved that religion is performed for some economic gain. Economic gains are needed for the sense gratification often when one is vitally in purity of sense gratification. He takes a salvation and try to become one with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, all these states are simply different types of sense gratification. So now the religion is only for the sense gratification. Now in the Vedas, the above mentioned four activity, the four activity is eating, sleeping, fearing and mating, are prescribed in the regulative way so that there will not be any undue competition of sense gratification. But Shrimad Bhagavatam is transgressive to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is purely transgressive literature which can be understood only by the pure devotee of the Lord who are transgressively to competitive sense gratification. In material world there is no competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation, but the devotee of the Lord raise above the competition. They do not compete with the materialistic because they are on the path of back to Godhead when life is eternal and blissful. So transgressive are non-envious and pure in heart. In material world everyone is envious to everyone else and therefore there is competition. But the transgressive devotee of the Lord are not only free from material world, material anxious or envy, but are well wisher to everyone else. So and they strive to establish a complete competition-less society with the God in the center. The contemporary socialist conception of competition-less society is artificial because in the society state there are competition for the post of a director. From the point of view of Vedas or from the point of view of common human society, sense gratification is the basic of material life. There are three paths mentioned in the Vedas. One involves in fruitive activity to gain promotion to better planet. Another involves worshipping different demigod for promotion to the planet of the demigod, and another involves realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature and becoming one with them. So the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is not the highest. Above the impersonalist feature is Paramatma feature, and above this is personal feature of absolute truth or Bhagavan. Shrimad Bhagavatam gives information about the absolute truth, each personal feature. It is higher than impersonalist literatures and higher than the Jnana-kanda division of Vedas. It is even higher than the Karma-kanda division and even higher than the Upanyasa-kanda division, because it is recommended the worship of a supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. In the Karma-kanda there is competition to reach the heavenly planet for better sense gratification, and there is similar competition in Jnana-kanda and Upasana-kanda. The Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to all these because it aims to get the supreme truth, which is the substances or the root of the all category. From Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come to know substance as well as the categories. The substance is the absolute truth, the supreme Lord, and emanation are a relative form of energy. So here nothing is the part of a substance, but at the same time the energy are different from the substance, and the conception is not contradictory, since Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates this simultaneously one and different philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra, which is begun in the Janmadhya Adhyaya Sutra. The knowledge is that the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with the different form of Lord is an answer to the mental speculator attempted to establish the energy as the absolute. When this knowledge is actually understood and one see the conception of monism, dualism to be imperfect. Development of this transcendental consciousness grounded in the conception of simultaneously one and different leads one immediately to the stage of freedom from the threefold of misery. So the threefold of misery are those misery are arise from the mind and body. The second one is those misery are inflicted by the other living being, and third one is the misery is arising from the nature nature which cannot be controlled. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the devotee unto the absolute truth, absolute person. The devotee is fully aware that he is one of the absolute, and at the same time the eternal position of the servant to the absolute. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the god of all the survey. Therefore he is always troubled by the threefold of misery of life. But as soon as he comes to know his real position of transcendental servant, he at once becomes free from the all misery. As long as the living entity is trying to master material nature, there is no possibility of his becoming servant of Supreme. So the person who always think that he will be the master of the material nature, then there is no possibility to become the servant of Supreme. Service to the Lord is rendered the pure consciousness of one spiritual identity. By service, one is immediately free from the material enhancement. Over and above this statement, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is personal commentation of Vedanta Sutra by Sri Vyāsadeva. It was written in maturity of his spiritual life through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyāsadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narada, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question as to his authority. He is the author of all other Veda literature. Yet he remains the study of Shrimad Bhagavatam above all other. In other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship demigod. But in Shrimad Bhagavatam, only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the total body, and demigods are a different part of the body. Consequently, by worshipping Supreme Lord, one does not need worship demigods. So here the most important thing is, if you worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no need to worship demigod. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the Shrimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana and distinguished it from all other Purana. The proper method for receiving. What is the proper method for receiving this scripture? Each transcriptional message to hear submissively. A challenge attitude. If you have the challenge attitude, then you cannot realize and get this transcriptional message. One particular word is used here in for proper guidance. This word is Sushrushu means by listening only you can understand this scripture, and you should listen this scripture or get this proper message or accurate message from the bona fide spiritual master who is in the Guru Parampara stage. So this Shrimad Bhagavatam can only understand by the pure devotee. Less fortune person are not all interested in hearing Shrimad Bhagavatam. So less fortune person or less intelligent person are not interested in listening the Shrimad Bhagavatam, or they cannot understand it. The process is very simple, but the application is very difficult. Unfortunately, people are find enough time to hear idle social and political conversation, but when invited to attend a meeting of a devotee to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant. Sometimes, professional readers of the Bhagavatam immediately plunged into the confidential topic of the pastime of the Supreme Lord, which they seamlessly interpret as a sexual literature. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is meant to hear from the beginning. Those who are fit assimilate this work are mentioned in the sloka. Not everyone is qualified to read Srimad Bhagavatam. The person who is become qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pure deeds. The intelligent person with a thoughtful discretion can be assured by great sage Vyāsadeva that he can realize the supreme personality of a Godhead directly to hear Srimad Bhagavatam without undergoing the different stage of realization set forth in Vedas. One can lifted immediately to the position of Paramahasam simply by agreeing to receiving this message. So here, why should we read this Bhagavata Purāṇa? The first thing, it is not motivated by religious activity. It is not motivated by a material religious activity. Second one is it only the pure devotee can understand this concept. So if you have that small devotee nature, then you can understand it easily, that it is mentioned in this second verse of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Jai Jagannath, Jai Shri Krishna.